Hey, if you're looking to create financial projections for your nonprofit, then you've come to the right place. We have developed a couple of different templates here that I'm going to show you for nonprofit businesses. We'll look at just a simple nonprofit financial model that's kind of a generic template for any kind of nonprofit. And then we're going to look at a specific template that we've built to help you if you're going through the process of applying to become a 501c3 with the IRS, and you have to fill out this form called the Form 1023. It asks you for financial projections, and it asks in a very specific format. And so we've built a template that's going to help you get your projections in that correct format for the IRS form. So we're going to walk through both of those. If you want to grab this template, you can get a link to a page where you can purchase this template in the description of the video below, and then you can follow along that way. Also, when you purchase this template, you're actually going to get access to the simple financial model that I'm going to show first, and then also the IRS Form 1023 version as well. And they're really pretty similar, but have some slight customization. So the last thing to mention before we jump in, my name's Adam Huxama. I'm the co-founder of Projection Hub. Over the last decade, we've helped over 50,000 businesses create financial projections for investors, lenders, internal planning, or in this case, maybe for your nonprofit application with the IRS. So let's jump into this template and we'll show you what's here. So the first thing I want to show you here is kind of the end goal here. And in this model, we have an at-a-glance tab where there's a lot of summary data, some different graphs and tables and charts that you'll be able to use. This is once you're done completing your projections, you'll be able to have this summary data that could be useful for your planning or maybe a presentation that you're doing. The other thing that you'll get is a number of financial statements. So you'll get your statement of activities, which is kind of nonprofit speak for a profit and loss. You get a cash flow summary for 5 years. And then you get a balance sheet, or what's called a statement of financial position for nonprofits for 5 years. And you'll also get these three financial statements, the statement of activities, cash flow, and balance sheet for each of the 5 years, but broken down by month. So you get that monthly detail as well. And you can see that here. But in order to get there, we got to do a little bit of work to get there. So let's jump back to the beginning here and show you how to fill this out. So the first thing you need to know is that every cell that's highlighted in blue throughout this model is an assumption field that you can change without breaking something in the model. So you can, change a start month, the name. You can add maybe an initial donation that you would have, that you'd expect to have to kind of kickstart the nonprofit. You can add fixed assets. So this could be leasehold improvements to an office. It could be furniture. It could be equipment that you might have. You can add business loans. So we've got a business loan here entered at $25,000 at 8%, along with that $100,000 initial donation. With our $75,000 of leasehold improvements for your office space, you can see down here that it'll show you, okay, how much, based on the assumptions you put in, how much cash do you need to get started, and how much cash do you have? Now, here it'll say starting cash is not sufficient. So we're going to go back to the drawing board here and say, boy, we really need to raise $150,000, let's say, in order to get started. And now we come back here, it says starting cash is sufficient. So that's something you'll want to check as you enter in all of these numbers. Now we have on the import revenue tab, this is your income. And we have put this into a few different categories, and we've really kept it simple. So we haven't, built out, things like, hey, we're going to have a fundraising event and we think we're going to raise this much money. We've just kept it simple with one line item saying, hey, how much do you think you're going to raise in gifts, grants, and contributions in a month, and how fast do you think that's going to grow annually? So there is opportunity to customize each of these sections. And if you need help customizing, reach out to us, because we have a CPA on staff. This is what we do. We help customize financial models, but Because every nonprofit can have such a different revenue model or business model, we didn't want to get too detailed here. We just wanted to keep something simple, give you the opportunity to just say, hey, we think we're going to make this much a month and this is how fast we're going to grow, and keep it simple. We also have the ability to add membership dues. So if you're a membership-driven nonprofit, you can add your dues, membership dues here. And then if you have just other revenue that doesn't fall into these two categories, put it here. And then if you have unrelated business income, that's another common thing that some nonprofits have. Unrelated business income you can add here. And that'll summarize your income into these 4 different buckets and give you total revenue. So next we're going to jump into our Input Other Expenses tab, where you'll be able to add your operating expenses. And what you'll be able to do here is you'll see that there are different expense categories that you can add. And we've added fundraising here specifically for nonprofits, but then there's also just kind of general typical expenses that other businesses would have. And then we also added programming, which we figure is also kind of a common expense category for nonprofits. And so what you'll be able to do is add an expense item over here, and then you can select the category right here. And then you're able to determine or select whether that expense is a fixed dollar amount. So let's say if it's fixed, it means it's the same dollar amount each month. Or is it an expense that is a percentage of revenue? Does it scale with revenue? So that could be something like maybe you provide scholarships and you scholarship out 10% of your revenue. Maybe that's just kind of a standard thing that you do. And so you might select, you can see here that we have scholarships under programming as a percentage of revenue as 0.10 or 10% as an expense line. And then you can also do per FTE expenses. So an example might be, let's say you pay for employees, cell phones and computer setup or their remote work setup or something at home, right? You could add that and you can make that a per FTE or full-time equivalent employee expense. And that way, the model will add that dollar amount of expense for every employee that you have listed in the model. And so speaking of employees, where you're able to add employees is on this Input Salaries and Dividends tab. You can see we've got some employees entered in here, some salary numbers. Let me zoom in here a little bit. And you have the ability to add benefits. And then one of the key things here to note is that you can pick the month that that employee is going to start. So let's say here we're going to have, maybe we'll have one teacher here starting in month 1, but we're going to add another teacher at the beginning of year 2. So in month 13, and we're going to add another teacher. And then maybe we add an office manager at the end or the beginning of year 3 or month 25. And so you're able to kind of scale up that employee base there as well. So that is the simple model. That brings us all the way back to where we started. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you our Form 1023 model. And before I do that, I just want to show you here, I'm on the IRS.gov website where it's talking about how to fill out the Form 1023. And there is a section here, Part 6, Financial Data. And then depending on how old the nonprofit is, it asks you to create projections here of your likely income and expenses for the next 2 years based on a reasonable and good faith estimate. And then depending on what age you are, the amount of projections you have to provide are different. But then as you scroll down, what it will do is it will show you line by line. So in line 1, it'll tell you, enter the total gifts, grants, and contributions you receive. And these are all projections. And then line 2, enter the amount you receive from members to provide support to the organization. Line 3, and so on. So there's many, many lines You can see going down here to line 24 in the projection section. And so what we did is put together a version of our nonprofit template, which is very similar to the one I just showed you, but I'm going to show you a couple different changes. So on the input revenue tab, we added a few more sections here. So we still have the gifts and grants and contributions, membership dues, and then here's something specific the IRS wants to know, a category type: dividends, interest, payments received on securities, loans, rents, and royalties, unrelated business income, local tax authority collection revenue. And again, on the IRS website, it describes in great detail what these sections should include. In-kind services or facilities revenue, activities to further your exempt purposes revenue. So they go into a lot of detail here. And so we have given you sections to add revenue for each of these lines that the IRS will give you opportunity to project for. Now, you don't have to project anything. You could put 0 in for a lot of these areas. If you're a pretty straightforward nonprofit model, and maybe you're mostly going to work off of gifts, grants, and contributions, you can just fill that out there. So the other thing I will mention is that there are some specific expenses that they want to know about. And so we have added these kind of obscure expense categories over here that are only there specific to what the IRS is requesting information on. So they want to know payments to individuals and organizations, payments for the benefits of members, officer compensation, and then we have facilities expense, professional services, and fundraising back at the top there. But those are some maybe kind of obscure expenses, but specifically requested by the IRS on that Form 1023. And so once you fill this out, again, you're going to get the same at a glance tab, but the difference, what we've also added in here, is a separate report that gives you the line items and the projections by year for these different categories. And then we put what line these numbers should represent. So line 1 on the financial data section, on the Form 1023, line 2, line 3, line 4, and so on. And so basically what we've tried to do is just make it, once you fill this projection out, you're going to be able to take this tab here and go to that Form 1023 and be able to fill that out in a pretty straightforward fashion. Now, if you have any questions about how to do that, feel free to reach out, leave a comment in the comment section of the video below. Or just reach out to us at support@projectionhub.com. And again, we have put a link to our nonprofit template in the description of the video below. And if you do end up purchasing that template, then you're going to get access to both this IRS Form 1023 version as well as that simple financial model for a standard nonprofit. So thanks for your time, and best of luck as you create projections for your nonprofit. Thanks.